an ideal world, we'd all have a practical car for everyday use and something a bit more fun for the weekend. But what if, like most of us, you only have room for one car? Can one car do everything? The new wave of performance SUVs like this Alfa Romeo Stelvio Q claim to be able to do just that. Handle family transport from Monday to Friday, yet harass sports cars on a twisty road should the mood strike.
Let's start with the day-to-day tasks. Not hugely exciting, but very important. Being an SUV, you get the raised driving position, there's enough room for adults in the back, and while the boot may not be big as some of its rivals, there's still plenty of space for your drinks, your groceries, and other daily consumables.
It's not a difficult car to drive. The steering is light, but it needs a bit of care as it's extremely direct. There's a fuss-free automatic gearbox and there's always ample power available. What about comfort? Important when a couple of kids are likely to occupy the back seats. Well, I've driven the Stelvio more than 1,000 kilometres now, and while the ride can be a bit bumpy, it's comfortable enough given its performance credentials. The basic interior doesn't really justify the $150,000 price tag. Some very cheap plastics in here. But Alfa nails the details with lots of carbon fibre trim, racy bucket seats and these beautiful aluminium gearshift paddles. So the Stelvio Q gets a tick for the sensible stuff. But so it should. Can this heavy, high-riding Alfa put the sport in sport utility vehicle? Well, it's quick enough that we need a racetrack to show what it can really do. Is any Stelvio, apart from this one, ever going to see the circuit? Seems unlikely. But you might be surprised at just what this thing is capable of. You can't ever defeat physics, but the Stelvio's clever all-wheel drive system does a remarkable job of defying them, sending most of the power to the rear so it acts in a very un-SUV-like fashion. So can one car do everything? To a certain degree, yes. Jack of all trades, master of none sells the Alfa a little short, as it can do everything from skids to the school run pretty effectively. There's inevitably a degree of compromise, but if you've only got one garage spot, cars like the Stelvio Q ensure you don't need to give up on having fun. But is the Alfa the best choice? To answer that, we have here its main competition, the Mercedes-AMG GLC63 S and Porsche Macan Turbo, both newly updated and eager to steal the Alfa's thunder. Let's start with the Porsche. In 2020, guys, the Macan Turbo scores a new engine with more power, revised suspension, tweaked styling, more equipment and an updated interior, including this giant 10.9-inch touchscreen that controls all your infotainment. It's a sensible, business-like interior, which kind of sums up the Macan as a whole. Its makeup is very similar to the Stelvio. 2.9-litre twin-turbo V6, pedal-shift gearbox, all-wheel drive, but it doesn't have the same extrovert flair in its design or the way it drives. That's not a criticism, it's just a different character. In everyday driving, the Macan Turbo is quieter, calmer and more comfortable than the Stelvio. But the back seat's a little tight for taller folks and the boot is quite small at 488 litres. To wake the Porsche up, simply move this little dial around to S+. The throttle sharpens, exhaust gets louder, suspension stiffens and the Macan Turbo basically morphs into a giant hot hatch. Shout about its abilities, it just gets on with the job of going quickly. But don't think that makes it boring, because it's extremely polished and actually a pretty remarkable car to drive.
But if it's excitement you want, the AMG is the SUV for you. The GLC63 is all about the engine. That fabulous 4-litre twin-turbo V8, a constant reminder of where your money went. Fastest, most powerful and most aggressive of our trio, and you're unlikely to ever tire of the noise it makes. It doesn't handle with quite the same poise as the Porsche, but it's still more than capable of being driven in a manner that will make the children squeal and the dogs sick. What's more, the Mercedes is more spacious, has a bigger boot at 550 litres, and, like the Porsche, scored a snazzy new infotainment system as part of its latest update. On paper, the Porsche is more than 20 grand cheaper, but as tested, that gap narrows to less than 8. Much of a muchness, really, when you're talking 160,000 plus.
So which fast SUV is best? The Porsche is for those who want to fly under the radar, and the Alfa isn't without appeal, but for its combination of performance and family friendliness, the Mercedes is the one for me.